Hey guys, I have been working on something that I think is going to be really useful for artists seeking to get hired in the entertainment industry. So when you're trying to do that, all of your efforts come down to making the right impression on one critical person, the art director, that recruiter who is making the hiring decisions. And we can speculate, we can take educated guesses about what it is they really want, or we can just ask them. And that's what I have done. I have sent around a list of questions to 7 art directors from a wide variety of companies in the industry today. We've got indie studios all the way up to massive AAAs, so that we can get some actual data and insights directly from those making those hiring decisions, who chooses which portfolios get picked and which ones get passed over. I asked 5 questions. When you need to hire an artist for a project, where do you look? When considering an artist portfolio, what do you value most? What makes you say this is the one? Is there anything in an artist portfolio that's an immediate turnoff or deal breaker? Is there anything in an artist approach or interview that is an immediate turnoff or deal breaker? And finally, if an artist wants to get your attention, what's the best way to get their work in front of you in a way that doesn't feel intrusive or salesy? So 5 questions to give us some critical insights into what art directors want. And I actually asked 6 questions, but more on that later. Okay, let's dig in. But first of all, I want to point out that I kept this 100% anonymous. I wanted these art directors to feel very free to be brutally honest and to just give us their unvarnished truth. So here we go. When you need to hire an artist for a project, where do you look? Number 1, most of the time I spend looking for artists is on Instagram and YouTube. If the artist has a cool personality, that comes through in the way they present themselves online. That gives me confidence that they will be fun to work with. So interesting. This is kind of a social media heavy looking for artists. Next, we have trusted sources are always preferred. So network, kind of a referral type of thing. But when searching out cold leads, I usually start on ArtStation. With that said, ArtStation can be just as much of a roadblock that it will obfuscate contact information if you're not a member. Interesting. That is sort of a very important critical flaw of ArtStation, is you kind of can't get in touch unless you opt in. I didn't realize that actually. So if contact info isn't readily available on ArtStation, I'll do a Google search for the illustrator in hopes of finding a website with an email contact. That's a lot of work to put on the art director. I think a good general rule of thumb is we want to make this as easy as possible. So putting your contact information anywhere that art directors are looking, that's an important one. Okay, art director 3. I love this. He actually included links. So in no particular order, we have polycount.com. I've actually used this before, and it's kind of a lesser known one, but it's really awesome. It has jobs boards. There's also the DeviantArt jobs boards and Reddit, just good old game development classified. So awesome. Direct resources that we can all start looking for or posting our work to for jobs. Number 4, it really helps when I have a personal relationship to the artist. I think the most important factor in this decision is knowing what kind of energy and process an artist brings to the project. This guy likes to work with people who he knows and who he's already worked with, but it's kind of hard, right? Like how do we break into that? It's equally as important as their body of work, especially if the look you're after is something a bit undefined, or if you're trying to achieve something that you've never seen before. Knowing what makes an artist tick and how they go after their ideas are what I use to help build a team. The next 2 are basically saying ArtStation and Instagram. Actually, the next 3, number 7 even says anywhere. So sounds like ArtStation, social media in general, and just building a professional network. That's what everybody seems to be saying about how to, be out there when art directors are looking to hire. That's where we need to be. Question number 2. When considering an artist portfolio, what do you value most? What makes you think this is the one? This is an important one. I always want to know, what is that tipping point? What's that thing that just makes you flip the switch saying, this is my artist. Art director 1. Aside from the necessary understanding of fundamentals, I look for imaginative intuition. Is the stuff the artist creates cool and interesting? Does it cause my imagination to fire up? If so, I know the artist is worth pursuing. That's awesome. That's that cool factor, that elusive thing that we're all reaching for. Number 2. First and foremost, has the artist curated the portfolio to look professional? As an art director, I don't want to see what an artist did in school or their life drawing sketches or fruit bowl paintings. I think where this is mainly going is that impression of professionalism, showing work that looks like you have worked on stuff. Kind of, even if you don't have professional experience, creating the impression of that is critical. Art director 3. Suitability to purpose, having a targeted portfolio. Art director 4 sort of punted on this one. Tough question, but basically pointing to skills and craftsmanship. I think that's really cool. When looking at an artist portfolio, I'm looking for strong foundational skills and have to do as little coaching as possible. We'll take on an artist where they're so close with talent, but those kind of artists typically require a lot of hand-holding, and when there's a lot of work to get done, it can add hours to the work and the process from the AD's side. I think that's really good to know. We want to give that impression that we're not going to be somebody who needs a lot of help. We are just a solution to a problem. We're checking something off of our art director's list. Number 6, familiarity with style and subject matter. And 7, demonstration of thought process. Showing the work and how someone got to a design solution. Seeing finished work is great, but seeing how you got to the finished work is even better. People get hired to solve problems, not for the piece of finished work in their portfolio. That is awesome. Something I've talked about a little bit in the past is kind of exactly this. While finished, polished, eye candy portfolio pieces are gorgeous, oftentimes art directors want to see your sketches, the messy, ugly things that just show that idea, the nuts and bolts, problem solving is a big part of the job that we do. And if we can kind of have the courage to show those ugly, messy sketches, art directors love that. In fact, that's the thing that I have been asked for most, the thing that has been missing the most from my portfolio. Is there anything in an artist's portfolio that's an immediate turnoff or deal breaker? Okay, artists who rely on shock value or who copy other people's styles too heavily are a turnoff. I think that's a great one. If you have a portfolio full of Ian McHugh little junker ships or some other Simon Stollenhag, some iconic artist who has a signature thing that you're just copying, that's a no-go. Art director 2, schoolwork. If someone is including still life paintings, life drawing sketches, or obvious classwork that was coached by an instructor, it lets you know that they haven't done enough professional work, that I'm ready to work with them. That's really key. We kind of want to create that impression that we have worked, that we have professional experience. The last time I had to hire a 2D artist, generative AI wasn't really a thing. But if I had to hire one today, anything that looked like generative AI would be an insta-kill. Very important note of our time is that we do not want to show any kind of use of AI. That's music to my ears, probably yours too, and actually more on that later in the video. Too few quality examples and failure to show your work, so kind of building on that last point. All right, number 4, if it's too similar to someone else's work, again, immediate no's in a portfolio are weak foundational skills and hiding behind style. Other things are just a focus on character or environment or props. We need folks that are well-rounded and not specialists. Very interesting. That's that debate about whether to specialize and create a targeted portfolio at one specific corner of the market or to generalize and cast a wider net. That's what I have done. I think you can have success either way. But that's really interesting to get an art director saying generalize is a better way to go, to be versatile. Artist 6, not really, but when applying and not having a link to the portfolio or even burying images under pages of other information. We always want to make this easy with as few clicks as possible because often art directors are sifting through lots and lots of portfolios. And finally, Not having any sketches or even hand drawing in the portfolio. Awesome. Is there anything in an artist's approach or interview that's an immediate turnoff or deal breaker? Number one, I want to give the artist the ability to express their own creativity in the artwork they create, but they also must be humble and teachable. If they're not humble or teachable, that's a deal breaker. So no divas. You always have to know that we're serving a project and we can take critique. We have to be kind of malleable in that way. Good lesson there. If they haven't researched our company and product lines, it's easy to tell. I get portfolios all the time that are sent via bulk email list. Those always go right to the wastebasket. I think that's important too. We don't want it just to seem like we're spamming out portfolios to anything and everything. If we want a realistic chance of landing a job, we need this company, this art director, to know that they specifically are the one that we want. They're not just a mass email. Failure to read the brief. When I post an RFP to Reddit or wherever, I've included instructions on what I want to see. If you didn't read the brief, you probably won't read my instructions on the project, and a lot of time will be lost. So that's great. Just generally attention to detail, professionalism, and just, paying attention, serving the actual purpose. Number 4, I don't love an artist whose process is very precious and keeps the work behind bars and gives you the final product tied up in a bow. I know that's how a lot of artists work, and they can be very protective of art directors muddying up the vision with too much input. But a good relationship with an art director is key to a collaborative process built on trust. When this is established, I find the work benefits and the artist's careers as well. That's awesome, and I think that sort of speaks to the being humble and teachable piece too. Okay, things I'm not a fan of and are immediate signs that I will not work with an artist for the first time or a repeated time are these quotes. It's my style. I don't maintain a sketchbook or studies, or disagreeing with likeness notes, not making the changes requested, or paying attention to feedback given. And other things about punctuality and professionalism. But I think that's just another good nod to just not being so set in your ways, not being so precious about your project, and just realize that we are serving a broader project. It's not all about our super special, one-of-a-kind artwork. It's about doing a job, being an input into a larger business. Art Director 6, I'm mainly looking at personality, someone who's willing to take feedback, and ability to communicate effectively and often. If those don't stand out, it's usually a pass. An art director just generally wants someone cool to work with. Fair enough. If an artist wants to get your attention, what is the best way to get their work in front of you in a way that doesn't feel intrusive or salesy, right? Do we cold call? Do we just send out emails? How do we get the attention of these people who can launch our career? If someone has an email up on the internet for inquiries, don't feel bad about using it. That's what it's there for. If a company has an Instagram, shoot them a DM. If someone has a personal account that is private, maybe don't try to contact them there. Be nice and honest about your intentions, but don't be pushy. Personality is the best way to sell your product. Art Director 2, showing his age, but I'm an email guy. I like a brief, personalized email contact with a link to an online portfolio. Fair enough. Keep it brief, be direct. Art Director 3, also email, but the art director has to get lucky because unless he happens to be looking at an artist at that moment, won't read it. Art director just says no cold calls. Pass. Fair enough. To get my attention, it's best to track me down at a show. Interesting. Real life contact. I get so many emails and have hundreds of pieces going at a time. So typically, I'll find them via social media. Just do great work and someone will find you. If you tag a subject matter to the related work we do, you will be found that way. I guarantee it. That's very cool, very actionable advice. In Art Director 6, just sending your portfolio with a brief description, long cover letters, or resumes with portfolio links buried, or long descriptions about yourself will often end up being ignored. The first thing I want to see is the work, and then I'll read about yourself. And also, attachments in emails aren't great. So I think that's a good one. Often there's a lengthy bio section in a portfolio, or it might even be the thing that leads the portfolio. That's not very important. Your work, the quality of what you can do, That will speak for you. You don't need 3 paragraphs about, as an inquisitive child, I always loved to draw. That doesn't really help you that much. So great work first with as few clicks as possible. And finally, Art Director 7. Tough question, but talking about yourself all the time certainly doesn't help, like social media. Showing great work does. Professionals know all the smoke and mirrors, so don't bother. You won't fool anyone. Seeking affirmation is the same as seeking employment. So that's really great. Lots of really good insights there. I hope that was helpful. So what I'm taking away from this is be professional, putting yourself in service of a project and not being a diva, not being all precious with your process. That's really important. Making things as easy on the art director as possible. Not having a lot of links, not a lot of bayou stuff to click through before they actually see the work, which is kind of all that they care about. And also just how to present yourself as an experienced professional. So not having things like life studies or paintings of bowls of fruit. Heard that several times. That's important. Everybody wants that impression of experience. Even if you don't actually have it, I think there are things that you can do to create the illusion that you're experienced. So I hope that's helpful, guys. Now, I mentioned the 6th question that I asked each of these. And I was a little scared to do this, but I took a deep breath and hit send. And I asked each art director how they feel about AI. Do you use it in production? And kind of where do you see it leading the industry? And the answers were so interesting that I think I have to do a dedicated video on that. So I will do that next. I will post it 1 week after this one. So be sure to catch that one. Thanks for checking this out, guys. I hope this was useful. I am going to put all of these full answers in a blog article on DPS. So if you actually want to read this in its entirety or go through the finer points, just click the link and that will be there for you for free. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.